are continuing our Sri Vedanta Sutra course. Today we finished memorizing the first verse that is mentioned as part of the commentary to the Sutra Athato Brahma Jigyasaha. Now, therefore, we shall inquire into the Absolute. So in the commentaries of Baladev Vijbhushan, the Govinda Bhashya, and also in other commentaries, we find this very important verse quoted in reference to that first sutra, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. So we're going to go over that verse we just memorized. And it's important for us, when we're learning these verses and hearing about them, to try to reflect upon the significance of the fact that we are discussing sacred verses that have been written down thousands of years before this present time. Actually, this verse, the Vedanta, is all obviously very ancient, but even more ancient, you can say, is the Mundaka Upanishad, because all these Vedanta Sutra aphorisms are referring to all the different Upanishadic texts. So the mundane, well, you could say the Indologists or the different researchers are giving certain dates to these texts. But another thing that's important to remember is that these are called the Shrutis. Shruti literally means what has been revealed truth, but also something that is passed through the process of hearing. Shruti means hearing. So the researchers say that, okay, these are so from 1000 BC perhaps, or 3,000 years old, something like that. But actually, it is described that before Ved-Vyas is the literary incarnation of God. So he wrote these down because at the onset of Kali Yuga, in the age of Kali, people's memories, intelligence, all these things are decreased. And so it's like an aid for the jivas who have less intelligence. Therefore, it's all written down. Before you approach Guru in Gurukul, you hear this all from Guru, you hear it once, and it's with you for your whole life. The mind can soak up the information and keep it with it. You don't forget it. So actually, these texts are very ancient, even more so than the first documents that we have. People say like, oh, it was, the Indus civilization, maybe 3,000 years ago, there was written documents before that. We don't find documents from 10,000 years, 12,000 years. But what we hear from our gurus is that actually the civilization before that was more advanced. They didn't even require having things written in text, because their intelligence was so sharp and they were so aligned with their specific dharmas that, like, if you were the Brahmin and you would perform Vedic rituals, you learned these all from your gurus and you memorized them all and you passed them down in the generations. And if you're not necessarily the Brahmin, you don't have to learn all these things perhaps. You don't need to learn all the mantras for rituals. So the point is that these texts we're learning are very sacred, very ancient, and part of the process of memorizing them is the repetition of it is actually purifying our consciousness, and this transcendental sound vibration itself is spiritually uplifting. So we're memorizing them by rote, and that memorization it's connecting us to that history of generations and generations of, not even from the last few thousand years, but you can imagine this same mantra, Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan, that was passed down from guru to disciple thousands and thousands of years ago, 4,000 of years. How cool is that? So that's part of, we should remember how sacred these things are. And when we memorize them, we're connecting ourselves to that entire heritage of that culture. That's really, you can imagine, they were having classes in the forest in different ashrams where they were memorizing these same verses 10,000 years ago in India. So that's why we can offer pranam to this Shruti. This is part of the Shruti Sastra. That's why let's go over this verse now that we learned. And this verse that we learned kind of encapsulates the first discussion we're having on Vedanta Sutra. How Krishna told Arjuna, transcend the topics of the Triguna Maya, three modes of nature, Sattva, Raja, Tama, goodness, passion, ignorance. Transcend the topics of the Vedas dealing with karma kanda, realizing that ultimately these are giving temporary results. So that's what this Mundaka Shruti verse is saying. Mundaka Shruti 1 to 12. So we'll go over it line by line. Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmano nirvidyamaya nastya krita kritena. That's saying that pariksha lokan, pariksha means someone who is searching. So this is also significant that when we are starting our spiritual journey, studying the Vedanta Sutra, the first aphorism is Atato Brahma Jigyasa, inquiry. Inquire, and then that means inquire from whom, right? But in the commentary to that First Sutra, one of the most prominent verses and the most quickly quoted verse is this verse that is the Mundaka Shruti 1-12, and it starts with that word, search. Become a seeker. Pariksha. Parikshit Maharaj, his name means the seeker. And that's why the Bhagavatam it's also connected to the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavad begins with Parikshit Maharaj learning that he's going to die in 7 days. He does this sloka in his own practice. Pariksha lokan karma chitan. He gives up his kingdom and his fruitive activities, and he approaches a real, genuine guru who knows the absolute truth and sits down and hears from him about the goal, the ultimate goal of life and how to attain it. So this, we can see how they all kind of line up. Jigyasa, Pariksha, to search. Parikshit Maharaj, which is the natural commentary of Vedanta. Parikshit Maharaj, his name was Parikshit because when he was in the womb of his mother, he was saved from the Brahmastra weapon of Ashvatthama by the Lord who appeared, and he, as the infant in the womb, he could see the Lord protecting him from the atomic energy of the Brahmastra weapon. And so then when he was born, he was always searching, where is that Paramatma? So his name was Parikshit Maharaj. So Parikshit is to search. So Pariksha Lokan, when we are searching after different worlds, Lokan means the different worlds. So we're looking like the spiritual seeker. When you start to rise in your consciousness, you learn of different worlds, different realms, different dimensions, just that you can approach through your conscious evolution. So you're searching for these different worlds. Now, we talked about this in the previous class, the Gayatri Mantra, as it blossoms, there's the 7 Varieties, Om Bur, Om Bhuva, Om Sva, Jana, Om Mahar, Om Brahma, Om Satya. These are the 7 Varieties. They're all manifestations from the Lord's energy. They're all, in that sense, they have some spiritual essence. So Pariksha Lokan means you're looking, the lokas, they're 7 upper lokas. And the Svarga planets is the ones directly above the earthly realm. There's actually Antariksha realm, which is the realm of spirits and ghosts. There's certain kinds of spirits that are between the heavens and the earth realm. But beyond that, there's the heavenly realm. And if you do the right kind of fruitive activities, you can rise to the heavenly planet. So that's Pariksha Lokan Karma Chitan. By karma, our fruitive activities in Vanashram system, then we can rise up to the heavenly planets. Pariksha Lokan Karma Chitan. But Nirvidyamayan Brahmano, this verse is starting from the point of discarding that desire for what Prabhupada would call elevationism, trying to elevate ourselves to the heavenly region, to enjoy through enhanced capacity of the senses to enjoy. But he's saying, no, I give up that quest for seeking heavenly pleasures. Why? Nirvidyamayan nastya krita kritena. Because I realized that the reaction, krita kritena, by doing activities to get there, all that work I put into it, it gives ultimately a temporary result. It doesn't give an imperishable result. So therefore, he says, nirvidyamayan, he becomes disinterested or detached with that sort of goal pursuit. And so therefore, tad vijnana artham, realizing that these attainments of the heavenly regions are ultimately not the ultimate goal of this self, that I should go higher. That's just the first realm above earth. The earth is the mortal, that's the land of karma bhumi. The earth is described to be karma bhumi and mrityu loka. Mrityu means the realm of death, where everything is always in the jaws of death. Then we rise up to the heavenly regions where we're able to enjoy more and we're not as closely in proximity with death. We live longer, we enjoy more. But as you go higher beyond that, then it's more and more subtle, more and more refined. So he's saying, don't stop your journey at the station, like you're on the train of your spiritual journey. Don't stop at the station of just the heavenly region. Keep going higher. Pariksha Lokan, don't be satisfied with that attainment of that level of your quest. Go to the higher level. So therefore, tad vijnanartham, if I want to go beyond that level, sa gurum eva bigachit, I must approach a guide. In the hero's journey, you have to meet the mentor, the guide, who can help take you from becoming led astray by the temptation for being, like at a certain part in the hero's journey, there's a temptress as well. That means you're going to be tempted as you progress in your spiritual quest. You'll be tempted with heavenly pleasures. Not only that, but becoming like the sovereign of the world. You look at Gopakumar's spiritual quest in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. He's offered the kingdom, he becomes the king of the world. Then he becomes Indra, king of heaven. He even becomes Brahma, the creator of the universe. But ultimately, he even transcends that and then he goes to the spiritual world. So what we're saying is that Brahma Sutra, Vedanta Sutra is saying, ultimately we're trying to realize the true self, and as long as we are thinking that we are some form of this material body, even in heaven, we have a subtle body that we identify with. And that is still a kind of illusion over the soul. So attaining the final realization of the self, you must transcend those temptations. And therefore you must approach the Guru. Tad Vigyan Artham. If you want to understand Tat, in Shastra the word Tat is used as a pronoun for the absolute truth himself. So Tat Vijnana Artham. Vigyan means self-realization or real realization, realized knowledge. Artham, with that purpose. Artham means a purpose. Sa gurum eva bigachit, approach a guru who, and how do you approach the guru? Samit Bani. Samit Bani means in your hands you should hold the sacrificial fire, wood. So when you approach guru, you approach him and surrender to him, holding the wood for the sacrificial fire, and that wood represents your faith. Samit Bani Shrotriyam, and the guru is Shrotriyam, again goes back to that word, Shrotriyam. He has perfectly heard and realized or completely embodied Shastra. Guru is Bhakta Bhagavat. He is the embodiment of all the scriptures are within the same manifestation of Guru. That's real Guru. And he is Brahmanishtam, firmly absorbed in the absolute truth, Parabrahman. So we're starting with that verse, which is very significant. And that's the same meaning of the Atato Brahma Jigyasa. It's saying, Atato, now give up the pursuit of material pleasures in this world. Now give up the effort to achieve the heavenly planets. Therefore, why? Because ultimately these things are all temporary. Therefore, Brahma Jigyasa, now inquire to the absolute truth. And how to do that? Approach a guru.